Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Alright, so what we're going to do right now is make an explosion that we're going to use for our game inside of GameMaker. I have GameMaker right here, and I really quick just threw together the Space Invaders kind of game that we're making. So let's give it a run, see it play. So here we are. I made a new ship. It's got some animation going, and it does shoot. Okay. Let's hop into Photoshop. Alright, inside of Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and create a new document. And this is going to be SPR_explosion. And hit OK. Now I am inside of Photoshop CS 5.5, so don't freak out if it looks a little bit different, but all the controls are pretty much the same. I'm going to unlock my layer. And if you do not see your grid, let's go up to View, go down to Show, and make sure that grid is checked. If you don't want to see your grid, then don't worry about it. But I'm going to use my grid as a frame of reference so that I know where center is. And then my background, or my background 0 here, I'm actually going to name this just background. I'm not going to be using this, but I'm going to be drawing a layer on top of it. So down here on our Layers tab, just make a new layer. And I'm going to name this EXP for explosion, and 1. So on my explosion 1, I am going to, just to make sure, go up to Image, Mode, and make sure we're in RGB color. That way we have our colors on. When I opened this up, I did not jump into RGB color. Okay. What we need right now are two different colors. We need a red and a yellow. And I'm going to be cheap and just do this. So this color is yellow, a nice bright mustard yellow. And this color is a nice ketchup red, and that's going to be fun. Over on our left here, I'm going to grab a brush, right click on the canvas, and I'm going to go down to my Speckly Brush. Now there are a few different ones. You can kind of pick which one that you want, just so it makes little particles. Now the way an explosion works, you don't have to start drawing just yet, but the way an explosion works, I'm going to illustrate for you. There's going to be a start of the explosion, and as the explosion gets bigger, the center of the explosion is going to kind of fall apart, and then you're going to have these patches, kind of like a wave or a ripple. And it's going to kind of get bigger and bigger as it goes. So what I'm doing is I'm going to grab, I have my little colors down here. Speckly Brush, I'm going to right click on my canvas, pick a size that I'm happy with. And I think that'll be a good starting size. And I'm just going to do a few clicks in the center here. And that'll give me this like spray painted kind of blob. And I'm going to go down to my colors on the left, hit the little arrow. Now I have my red color, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I have red and yellow mixed together. I've got some oranges going. And I actually kind of like that for my first frame. If you want to do this like cartoony, you can always do like a black outline and whichever, but this should probably work for us. So on the first explosion, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt on the keyboard and drag down my explosion 1 to make a copy. I'm going to turn off explosion 1, rename my copy explosion 2. Okay, and all I'm going to do is same thing, except I'm going to make this a little bit bigger as I go. And you can change your Speckly Brush in between, so it's a different effect. Okay. And I'm just being quick about this. You guys are more than welcome to take your time and get the colors to blend the way you want them to. So there's that one. So there's a small one. Next size up. Hold Alt, click and drag. I'm going to turn off Explosion 2. Name the new one Explosion 3. And this is how animation's usually done. You start off with one frame and then you go and make the next keyframe and so on and so forth based off of your previous ones. This is a little bit cheaper. I'm not going too specific, but kind of get the idea. So now I have, for my third image, I have this kind of big fireball kind of thing going. Okay. Now one of the things you want to do is you want to kind of decide how many frames you're going to have for your explosion. For my explosion, I've decided that I want about 6 frames. So turn these two off. And as I make my 4th frame, go ahead and change this guy's name. I think I swallowed a fly. Make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to be a little bit random as I go. It's okay to give it some natural randomness. Because explosions, they start off kind of circular, but then as they go and different parts of the explosion, they hit different types of pressure waves. Depending on the amount of oxygen on certain sides of it and all that stuff, it might plume out. So I'm just kind of randomizing a little. But as this is happening, this guy is going to start to decay in the center because the energy has now reached its threshold, basically, and all the energy in the center is kind of gone. So we're going to start taking this away. I'm going to grab my eraser. It's the one in between the right here with the this little guy. What's this thing called? I never use this. History brush, and then the paint bucket. I'm going to grab a Speckly Brush, and I'm just going to start cutting away at the center. Not too big, but just enough to get the effect. And now as I bring in image 5, going to swap out my brush again. Now as you're making these, be careful not to hit right on the edges, just because it'll flatten off and you don't want that to happen. So and what I mean by that is if I make this streak on the edge, see how that is a crisp like slice on the end? You want this to maintain its roundness. So if we have pixels right on the edge, it's going to destroy the illusion that this is real. So here we go. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting away some random bits. I don't want to have this thing too huge, because the energy in the center is dying out at this point. So we're going to get some of this gone. I'm going to make some random bands here. And you can be as artistic as you like with this. I'm going to leave it about there. And then I'm going to go on image number 6. And then for image number 6, I am going to get this as far out as I can without flattening it off. You can see down here these have already flattened. I'm going to have to go back and clear those off. Make a couple passes, make this fiery. Oh, that's too red. There we go. And now I'm going to go in and start clearing some stuff away. And if you're panicking, like if I'm going pretty quick, this isn't an exact science here. You are an artist, so it doesn't have to look exactly like my fire. You have the freedom to make decisions as you go. And so the center of this is going to be pretty much gone at this point, and we're going to have a very narrow band of fire in the outer edges. I'm going to go around, just try to round this off, because I'm getting kind of squarish, and I don't want it to be square. It's still a little more square than I really want it to be, but I'm not going to panic. It's good enough. And I will, at this point, no, I'll keep my background on. So what I want to do now is I want to save out all these layers. What we've been doing in the past is saving these out as individual images and then doing what's called flipping, where inside of GameMaker it takes each individual picture from different files and then just flips between them. What I want to do is make this a sprite map, or a, I believe GameMaker calls them, GameMaker calls it a sprite strip. Same thing as a sprite sheet or a sprite map. I want all these on the same sheet, but I want it to be a linear progression. So the way I'm going to do that is this. Let's see, what's the quickest way to go about it? I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go up to Image, and I'm going to go down to Canvas Size. And when we get this up, make sure that we change this to %. And what we can do, and this is just some quick math here, we have 6 pictures, right? If one picture is 100%, then 6 pictures would be 600%. So I'm going to pin this to the left. That way picture 1 stays here. And then I want this to expand outward to the right enough space to accommodate 6 more pictures, or a total of 6 pictures anyway. We do not need to adjust the height because we're doing this just on our horizontal. And I will hit OK. And you can see that this has spread out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn all of these off except for image number 2. I'm going to click on my explosion 2. Click on my arrow. Inside of CS Photoshop Creative Cloud, the little arrow has been replaced with this little plus sign kind of cross thing. It's the same thing. And just go ahead and grab, make sure you're on explosion 2. Grab that, move it over to the center line, and it should just snap there for you. I will go ahead and hide my background. I don't need my background anymore. If you guys need a background to kind of help you see, you're welcome to keep it. But the way we're going to do this is we're going to have an explosion, and then we're going to have, because one of these blocks is 512 pixels. So I'm going to go to the next block at 512 pixels and put this one in the middle. Turn the next one on. I'm going to move over, make sure I'm on explosion 3, and drag that to the center. And it should snap in the middle. If yours does not snap, you can go up to View and just make sure that snap is checked. And an easy way to eyeball this is we should have one fire in the center. The very next center, there's no fire. So every other center, we should have a fire. Okay. Click on explosion 4. Drag this one over. It's almost like a little fiery Christmas wreath, you know? There's that one. And grab the next one. That should be about center. And then the last one. Oops, I'm not on the correct layer. You want to make sure that you're on the right layer when you move, because you might move something you don't want to. I accidentally moved this guy. Make sure I'm on explosion 6. I'm just being a little bit lazy with my slider here. And then my last picture. There we go. So we should have explosion in the center, no explosion, explosion in the center, no explosion, explosion in the center. So empty, explosion, empty, explosion, empty, explosion. And if you want to zoom out, you can hold Control on the keyboard and press the minus key, and it will show you, you can zoom out to where you can see all of your images, which is kind of cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to make sure that I put this into my my Documents GameMaker Projects folder. So save. Make sure you're in your Space Invaders folder, and this is going to be, the first part is going to be my PSD file, so SPR_explosion. Save that. And now I'm going to save the PNG file. Save as SPR_explosion PNG. And what's nice about doing it as a strip is I don't have to sit there and save out 6 individual pictures. I have one strip, and I can tell GameMaker to load the single strip and how to find each one of these pictures. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. So jump over to GameMaker, and we're going to be loading in a new sprite. Just to make sure, I'm going to I forgot to make my mean boss creature. It's okay. I'll make them in just a second. I'm going to create a group, and you should have this already, but I forgot to do this when I made this. But I'm going to make a player group to put my player sprites in. So I'm just going to drag these guys in here. Where are you? So there's my player. Create a new group. This will be MISC for miscellaneous. And that'll be for like explosions and stuff. And inside there, create sprite. SPR_explosion. And we are going to, in this case, instead of loading a sprite, we are going to edit sprite. File, go down to create from strip. You could also add from strip, but we're going to create from strip. And then we're going to have to navigate to our GameMaker projects, Space Invaders, and find your strip. Kind of load it in. And I'm going to maximize this so I can see. Now up here on the left, you have number of images. Well, we have a total number of 6 images, so I'm going to tell it 6. Number of images per row. Just so you know, images going horizontally from left to right are a row. Images that go up and down are columns. So number of images per row, I have 6 images per row. Image width and height. My images are currently 512 by 512. And I don't know if you can see, but there's actually a very clear line cut around our objects. If you drag your little slidey bar, you should see these little lines cut in. And that's just showing, as GameMaker, showing you that it has found our frames, and it knows where they're at, and it's going to pick from those. Horizontal offset, we can leave these at 0 because we have, it's just a one linear strip. There's nothing else on here. So the rest of these we can actually leave alone. And I will hit OK. And there's our animation running. Kind of cool, huh? I'm going to hit the checkbox and hit OK. Alright. Since I forgot to create an enemy, I will go ahead and create an enemy real quick. Create a group. Enemy. And SPR_enemy. And I will load the enemy from a previous game. Sure, I'll load these in. I don't think that worked the way I was hoping. Oh, it did. Sweet. Give this guy a collision. Diamond collision. Because diamonds are forever. Manual, and then from... You don't have to follow along on this. I'm just doing this for posterity's sake. so that we can see this working. And I'm not going to be that specific. I'm just going to be like, okay, center it up. Okay, good. I have an enemy. Now for my objects, again, we should have a group down here. So player objects. So that should house all of my player pieces. I should have a group for my enemy, because I may have more than one enemy, and I want to have them where I can find them. If it fights with you, just kind of drag up the folders. Obj underscore enemy. Go ahead and give this thing the enemy sprite. You guys should already have your create event set up for your enemy sprite. I don't have it in here, so I'm going to do it real quick. I'm going to resize it. 0.38. And I'm not going to have him move because I want to shoot him. So hit OK. And then other objects, obj underscore explosion. Load in our explosion sprite. And now what I want to do is add an event. So add a create event. And inside my create event, I'm going to resize this guy, or gal. I really don't know how big I want this explosion to be. I'm just going to put this here because later we're going to make two explosions. One for whenever we hit an enemy, and one for whenever the bullet explodes. So I'm just going to put a sizer in here. And I need one more event. I need this thing to blow up. So let's see. Go to Other, Animation End. And at the end of an animation, we are going to have it destroy itself. So this says at the end, after it counts all 6 frames, it'll stop doing the explosion. And I will hit OK. So two things need to happen. And actually, I'm just being picky on where I want to put this. Don't mind me. I want it so that whenever the bullet collides with an enemy, that it explodes. So let's do this. Which one should I manage first? Let's do the bullet first. Open up the bullet. And we are going to do an add event, collision. And we want whenever the bullet touches an enemy, we want the bullet to create an explosion. And it will be relative because it's going to happen at the bullet's location. And I'm going to drag in a change sprite. And I'm going to say other because I want this to look at the explosion of our bullet. We don't want to change the size of the bullet. We want to change the size of the other object that we are colliding with. And I'm going to make this 0.15, 0.15, because I think that'll be fine for the bullet. Okay. And I might have to come back and adjust this. We'll test it in just a second. And then for the enemy, sorry, I forgot something. When the bullet hits an enemy, we want to make sure the bullet explodes. So under main 1, drag in a trash can, and make sure that applies to self. So whenever the bullet hits the enemy, the bullet will generate an explosion. The explosion should resize to the specified size, and then after that happens, the bullet should destroy itself. I'm going to jump into my room real quick and just add my enemy to the screen. Enemy. That thing's huge. I'll just resize it. And I'll put a couple in here just because I want to get a few instances of this. So let's copy that off. Paste selection. And that should be good enough for us to do the test run. Okay, so there's me firing, and boom. So the explosion happened, but it resized it resized the enemy and not my bullet. So I'll have to change how that works. And also the bullet, or the explosion, is appearing over here. And the reason it's appearing off-center is where the draw location is on there. So we're going to change the draw location of the bullet, or sorry, of the explosion. So go under miscellaneous, explosions, and make sure we check center. That way it's appearing in the center, it's not being drawn off of the corner. So that's what's happening, is as the bullet gets to here, it draws the new picture this way. Hit OK. Let's go ahead and check that real quick. Poof. All right. Collision. I'm just going to specify which object to resize. That way there's no confusion, and I will test it. So now I have a little explosion for the bullet. And that's good. Now we want to make sure that the enemy, gets destroyed whenever the bullet hits them. So let's open up the object enemy. And inside here, we're going to add event. We're going to go to a collision event. And we want whenever the enemy collides with the bullet. So whenever the enemy collides with the bullet, we are going to create an instance. And this is going to be the explosion. Check relative. And then we will drag in a destroy self. And that should work. Poof. Yay. Awesome. All right. So that's a quick way of making an explosion. You guys are welcome to make it as decorative as you like. And I will see you in class.